When you're talking about the hardest woods in the world to split, everybody's going to have an opinion. And I'm not talking about the hardest wood in the world based on its density. I'm talking about hardest to split in half. Now the thing about firewood is, hardwood is a good thing. It burns for a long time and it heats your house really well. Unfortunately, a lot of the best hardwoods in the world for burning also happen to be extremely difficult to split. And this, my friends, is no exception. What we have right here is a species of wood, Eucalyptus, but more specifically, river red gum. Not this specific tree, but its ancestors came over here on boats as seeds, got planted on the west coast of the United States in an attempt to find a wood that grows really quickly and would serve as solid railroad ties, wind screens for people's properties, and good material for building. And it turns out it's not good for any of that shit. In fact, it's super invasive, it's kind of poisonous to a lot of the stuff around it, and at the end of the day, it's very thirsty. So when you plant a eucalyptus tree, one of the things it wants to do is grow very invasive roots and try to suck up all the moisture and the water from the ground water table, or your well, or your pipes, etc., etc. So at the end of the day, yeah, maybe it belongs in the land down under, but it doesn't belong here. Which lends for perfect firewood, because that means it's perfect for me to be removing. Now, the first thing we're going to talk about is how to split it, because it's extremely hard to split, and because of its grain pattern and the way that it grows in a twisting shape on its way up, it can give you hell. And there are some tricks to making it work for you. So we're going to start with the most obvious one. Axe selection. Now this is widely considered to be one of the greatest axes ever made, but I don't consider it to be very good for this specific application, which is splitting eucalyptus, and this is why. The Gransfur's head is very narrow, and it stays pretty narrow, meaning it doesn't have wide cheeks, pretty consistently until about here. The unfortunate thing about eucalyptus is because of the way the grain pattern acts, and it's a really hard wood with not a lot of moisture, that's going to get stuck on every single swing and leave you trying to pry it out every single swing you make. I'm going to show you right now. Well, it's in there. Now, if you know anything about eucalyptus, you're not going to want to do that 15 times, which is probably how many times it's going to take you to swing on the damn thing. Beautiful axe. Wonderful 99% of the time. This is not one of those times. Next, we have ourselves a maul with a similar issue. Very narrow cheeks in the very front of the bit. Now this looks like it would be a better choice because it's heavy, because it's a maul, because it's designed for exclusively splitting. It seems like it would make sense. Unfortunately, you'll run into the same exact problem. I don't even want to get it out, but I have to. Now, this is where things get interesting. This little axe is handmade, but the thing that's very unique about it, it has very wide cheeks. See how quickly those cheeks flare out? This thing does not like to get stuck in anything. In fact, all it wants to do is bounce and be swung again. So I'm going to show you why this is the better choice for eucalyptus. This is the axe that's going to do a better job. I'll show you why. Woo! That's what you're looking for. Repeat swings. You don't want to dig in that thing every single time you have to swing. Now, not to state the obvious here, but if you're splitting eucalyptus, you probably don't want to be swinging down the middle like I just did. To make it even better, we're going to work on the next tactic that will make this even easier for you. That's a hell of a piece. So, some of you already know this, but to the ones who don't, this trick is imperative with eucalyptus or gum trees, you're better off chipping off the edges. And I know that's an effective strategy for most types of wood, but with this type of wood, it's even more important. So we're gonna chip off some edges, and instead of taking as many swings down the middle, hopefully it results in less. Perfect. We'll give it one more little tap. And so on and so forth. Why is this wood so horrible to split if it's not the hardest wood in the world? Grain pattern, grain pattern. There are some very strange stoppages all down the grain. Those are capable of absorbing a lot of force vertically, but this tree is not capable of absorbing almost any force horizontally. So they snap, they break, they drop branches on people, often called widowmakers, because it's so hard, it's really fragile too, at least from a shearing force perspective. Now, if eucalyptus is such a pain in the ass to split, why is it my favorite firewood in the world? Well, one, it's kind of nice to know that you're taking away a tree that somebody doesn't want on their property, very flammable, not good for the ecology, not good for biodiversity, all that stuff. So it's very sustainable as a resource for me. It burns so hot. In fact, if you have like a catalytic converter in your fireplace, you really got to be careful not to overwork it, because it can actually warp and mess up the mounting system on a lot of fireplaces. So that's how hot it burns. Now that's like the perfect storm, obviously, for great firewood. People want it gone. It breaks and falls all of the time, and it's bad for its general environment. It really sets you up and puts you in a perfect position to heat your home with a wood that no one's really gonna miss, especially here on the west coast of the United States. For good measure, I'm gonna split one more piece just to get back at it, because I know you guys have seen me struggle with eucalyptus before. Let's do it. Beautiful.